What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Review for Bleach, the Thousand Year Blood War. I think this is episode. What is it? It's episode 28. Yeah. It would be as always. I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. So this is like one of the first major episodes, and we actually see Ichigo.
Yeah.
Be
And
involved
it's
in the
actually
major
like
battle.
a full
And
episode,
considering
too,
that we
unlike last week's episode, which at least a fraction of it was just sort of showing us again like the end of the second core. And this one's actually like a full length episode.
yeah, and of course, like I said, with this being Ichigo's first full on like battle, like considering that like the entirety of the last season didn't really feature Ichigo as
Yeah.
much. I mean, we did see him fight against the Bambis a little bit here and there, but it wasn't really much. He pretty much overpowered all the other Stern Raiders and
Yeah.
the Bambis at the time, but we never
That
really get to see him
that was one
fight
of the
all that much.
criticisms
So
I guess I had of the second of part two is that Ichigo really got sidelined. I mean, it was nice to see a lot of the other captains. A lot of time was dedicated to them, but it really sucked. Just seeing that Ichigo just he was, I guess, getting trained off screen, and that was like most of his role in most of the second half, or the second part of Thousand Year Blood War, until he shows up at the end to just pretty much overpower all the Bambis and see that Uryu has supposedly betrayed everybody.
yeah, so in this episode, I mean, we do get to see what's going on with some of the other characters in the Seirete. Um, with Ukitake being there, we see what Renji and Rukia are up to. Like, supposedly they're heading back to the
R&D.
I think they're heading back to the Seirete to join up with join up with Urahara at R&D. But yeah, much of the episode was focusing on the fight with Ichigo going toe to toe with Yuhaba. After what we saw happen to supposedly what happened to the Soul King being impaled by Yuhaba.
So this I mean, of course this ends up just being kind of I guess an elaborate trap by Yuhaba. So of course this is pretty much round two of the fight against Ichigo and Yuhaba, where Ichigo got defeated by Yuhaba, of course, in the first time he fought him. But this time, of course, he's gone through all that training, and I guess we see the results of that in this fight, where he's just become a lot stronger, and we see some of his new Getsuga Tensho abilities and Getsuga Jisho, and some of what he's able to do with that. We also see that Yuhaba has gained this new. Well, we saw before that he did already have this ability, this foresight ability. And I guess you could have picked up on it during the fight, but if you notice, like his eye, he shows it actually when they first confront him that he now has the ability of foresight. But you can also tell throughout the fight his eyes are back to normal. Like he doesn't have the eyes that give him I guess future vision or the foresight. And when it seems like, of course, Ichigo has him beat, he reveals, of course, that he was pretty much, I guess, giving himself a handicap the whole time, where he wasn't using the foresight, and now he switches to using it again, and he's pretty handily able to take down Ichigo because he just sees everything he's going to do before he does it.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing when Yoruichi even tries to help
Yeah.
Ichigo during that fight, but it's still like I mean it's null and void regardless of what they try to do with Yuhaba, because he's able to tell what they're gonna end up doing before what happens. So it gets to the point where Yuhaba unveils the Soul King that he ended up impaling in the last episode, which of course forces Ichigo to pull to try to pull up the sword out of there, but
I was kind of yelling at the screen this whole
another
time
trap.
when Ichigo was doing that, because I was just thinking, like, obviously this is a setup, like this is just a trap, and Ichigo, I guess, just doesn't really care to think about that. He's just trying to remove the sword, I guess, assuming the Soul King is dead. But because I guess because
Yeah.
also because of Yuhaba's foresight ability. Now that he even claims to Ichigo like, oh, I knew that you were going to do this the whole time. This is what you would do. So that's I guess why he even set it up this way in the first place. Um,
Yeah, and also just due to the fact that Ichigo has Quincy blood in him, that it forces Ichigo to use the sword that Yuba was using to basically just unwillingly cut the Soul King
yeah,
in half.
which yeah, that was crazy, and we also see as well like I guess as a result of this, all the three worlds, Hueco Mundo, those World of the Living, and Soul Society, are all like I guess feeling like literal like aftershocks or something, like an earthquake. Like when I guess like, as a result of supposedly I guess the Soul King being dead, it's I guess it's created like some kind it's that now everything is I guess is unstable and throughout the three worlds.
Yeah, and then of course Ichigo just looks helpless over what
Yeah.
just happened just moments ago, and you have to wonder like what's gonna happen next. Of course, like it just seems like it's too soon to tell like whether or not this is really the end of it, because obviously there's something else is gonna happen to to keep the
Yeah,
world
and
from
I
being
mean, I mean,
destroyed
my thing
at the
is, you
last
have to wonder
minute.
if the Soul King really is dead. Like, was it really that? I mean, well, I wouldn't say easy, but it seems like he died. Like, I mean, it didn't seem like it really took a lot for him to kill him. I guess after Squad Zero is out of the way, there's really no other defenses of for the Soul King. It seems like he's fairly, he's pretty vulnerable. Um, once Yuhoba got to him. So yeah, I kind of wonder
Yeah,
if he really is dead, or if there's going to be some kind of a twist with that, like he's not really dead. Because yeah, I don't really know what's going to happen now that if the Soul King really is dead. Uh, I mean, yeah,
yeah. I mean, they have to
yeah,
pull something out of their ass just to, just to explain away, like, this is not the case. And not to mention the fact that Aizen is likely on his way to join the fight later. So there's that. Um, but yeah, it was a really good episode. It was good to see Ichigo back in action. Basically since we've been waiting since season one. I mean, we barely got to see him fight in season two, but he was like you said, it's like he's been mostly sidelined for most of that season, with much of the focus has been being on the lieutenants and captains of the
yeah,
Soul
yeah. I mean, it
Society.
was good to see Ichigo and his friends actually do something again. Um, that's what we're used to,
Mhm.
but yeah, we haven't really been seeing much of that. So yeah, it feels like we're finally kind of a little bit back to the status quo of what we're used to with Bleach. Um, but and yeah, I mean the fight with Yuhaba was really great too, because of course it seems like the whole time Ichigo had the upper hand, and of course he really didn't, which is also pretty typical of Bleach fights. You think Ichigo has gotten stronger, and he seems like he's winning at first, but then that they pull the rug out from under him and reveal that like oh well that I wasn't using my full power or something like that. So that is basically like kind of what we're used to in that sense.
Mhm.
But yeah, I thought it was a really great episode. It's just unfortunate that the first episode of part three was I feel like a little bit like hampered by the fact that it was sort of recapping for at least a fraction of it. But this episode, at least, like I said, was a full length episode, and it was all new content, and it was a really great way to start things off because it just ends off this on this just really insane cliffhanger where we're not really sure like what they're gonna do now because it seems like it's they've completely like changed the state of the world, and Yuhaba is just has the upper hand at this point. Um, so,
What really irritates me is why couldn't they have made this the season two
yeah,
finale? Because it would have left. Yeah, because they ended like season two off at such a weird spot with with
yeah.
Ichibe and Yuhoba. I mean, like with this with this ending would have been a more fitting cliffhanger ending. For
Yeah,
season two
it definitely would have.
possibly.
I
I
mean,
mean, if
I
they
guess it would have had a weird episode count, but it would have been much more effective as an ending for the second part. Um, I
I mean, it wouldn't have killed them to have like maybe at least a one
yeah, or
hour
they could do that.
special in
But I
if that
mean,
was the case.
as for we do
Yeah,
know,
but
I think there was a lot of production issues apparently with part two. We were hearing when it came out that there were production issues, and that was why the final episode was the way it was. But I mean, maybe I don't know. I
Hmm.
would have been fine if they even like delayed it just so they had more time to work on that, to maybe make it the last episode more like, I guess technically the first two episodes of part three. That would have yeah, it would have made a lot more sense, because yeah, part two just ends in a kind of weird and awkward way in my opinion, where it would have just been like, yeah, like you said, a lot better if it had ended in technically like the second episode of part three. It would have just been an insane cliffhanger. Um, but with the way things ended in part two, it just seemed like, I mean, I guess it kind of was a cliffhanger, but you just kind of assumed that, like, oh well, Yuhoba is beaten, I guess, but which of course, as we know, wasn't really going to be the case. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the episode, though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
still a fantastic episode. Just the way how this fight was overall animated with a lot of like over the top moments with how Ichigo was I guess was holding his own against Yuhaba at the time before he turned the tables on him. Um, but yeah, I still enjoyed the episode. Definitely can't wait to see what's gonna happen
Yeah,
next
Sam.
week.
So that being said, guys, until next time, we will see you all later.